Congressman Khanna, Democrat on the House Oversight Committee, also on Armed Services. Congressman Khanna, I don't know if we can pull the picture up again. The White House is saying Trump has nothing to do with this. He is at the signing of the deal for this a month before Election Day when they posted it with Eric Trump and the head of the Vietnamese group. There it is, right? Big U.S. flags, by the way, behind him. Very presidential, in fact, it looks like, a month before he won the White House again. What do you think about the fact that Eric Trump is now in charge of this $1.5 billion deal, tower, golf course in Vietnam?
Well, look, you don't have to be an ethics expert or a lawyer or on the Oversight Committee to know that this is just wrong. America never used to be for sale. No president in my lifetime has done something like this, where they are negotiating the tariff deal on a country based on whether that country is going to invest in their family's businesses. And it's a pattern. I mean, you saw it with UAE. They were willing to invest in meme coins for Donald Trump, and then they do a deal. You see Qatar willing to give a luxury jet so that they can curry favor with Donald Trump. And it's also, by the way, the problem with blanket tariffs, because Trump is using it as a tool to reward people who he likes or who are doing business with his family, and to punish people he dislikes.
So what do you make of the timing here? I mean, obviously, as I pointed out, it was 2 days after Liberation Day when Trump had a call, right, with the leader of Vietnam and said that he had that call, right, even as he wasn't doing other calls. And now these talks are advanced, it seems. They're in round two, more than other countries, and that with Vietnam, as Eric Trump is over there getting this king-like welcome. I mean, what about the overlap between those two things?
Well, Erin, as you reported, Trump and Eric Trump don't even have to say anything. I mean, that's the system they've set up, nor does anyone in the Trump administration. They know that other governments are going to try to curry favor to get favorable terms. So if you're the Vietnamese government, the Communist Party, you're thinking, well, what's $1.5 billion when it could save us billions of dollars in getting the 46% tariff removed? And you have a scramble in other countries to try to curry favor with Donald Trump, including enriching his family businesses. It's really just shameful, given what this country stood for, and that this is happening.
Yeah, I will say, Congressman, one thing about this that appears to be the most disturbing is this is one of those basic things as a journalist. You can just say it's wrong. And it would seem most people would know this is wrong. And yet we're not hearing that from many of your colleagues on the Republican side of the aisle. I know we'd be hearing from them if this were a different party, right? And you just wish at times that people would just say what's right and what isn't right. I want to ask you also in the context of the Armed Services Committee on which you sit, which I mentioned at the top, the breaking news Jim Sciutto was just reporting, the new intelligence suggesting that Israel's preparing a possible strike on Iranian nuclear facilities. And that would be a brazen break with Trump. And U.S. officials are saying that. He's been working on that diplomatic deal with Iran. The question for you, Congressman, is at this point, from the information that you have in Armed Services, does Trump have any sway on Netanyahu at this point?
He does. I mean, they're obviously dependent on the United States for aid, for support. And I praised, actually, President Trump recently, saying that he was trying to get an Iran deal. In fact, some people in my own party criticized me for that. But it would be a disaster to have Netanyahu launch a strike. Most military experts don't believe it actually would be effective, just given how dispersed a lot of Iran sites are. And the fact is that some of them are in population centers based on public reporting. So it is my view that Donald Trump should make it clear that that's not good for stability. By the way, it's not good for oil prices, gas prices. The one thing Trump does understand is the economy is consequences of a war. And I'm very hopeful he'll stand up to the hawks in his own party and stand up and make it clear to Netanyahu this is not something America wants.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio is involved in the U.S.-Iran talks, which are being led, of course, by the New York real estate lawyer Steve Witkoff. But you know Rubio because you co-sponsored legislation with him when he was in the Senate, right? You've worked with him. He was on Capitol Hill today, and I want to play something that your Democratic colleague, Senator Chris Van Hollen, said to him.
I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State. You and I served together in Congress for 15 years. We didn't always agree, but I believe we shared some common values, a belief in defending democracy and human rights abroad, and honoring the Constitution at home. That's why I voted to confirm you. I believed you would stand up for those principles. You haven't. You've done the opposite.
Do you agree with him?
I do. It's sad to me because I worked with Senator Rubio on a White House economic development initiative, and he was very thoughtful about it. But I know what's going on. Look, Donald Trump basically announced to the world there's going to be an apprentice-like contest for the 2028 primary, that he wasn't going to just anoint J.D. Vance. He mentioned Rubio, and they're competing for his approval to be the nominee. And so this is not the Marco Rubio that ran against Donald Trump in 2016. It's not the Marco Rubio who did the Gang of Eight deal on immigration. It's not the Marco Rubio who used to work on human rights with people like Senator Van Hollen. And it's not the Marco Rubio who worked with me on economic development. It's a Marco Rubio who's trying to outright J.D. Vance.
All right. Congressman Khanna, I really appreciate your time, and thank you so much.
Thank you.